All right, so the first thing that I want to highlight is the principles of pressure and valve opening. So I'm going to talk about a bidirectional valve. Um, Sorry about that. I'm going to talk about a bidirectional valve as well as a unidirectional valve. So in a bidirectional valve, what you're going to have is you're going to have two chambers, all right? So I'm going to put two chambers, okay, and another chamber here. And then you have a valve that can open um, either way. It can open this way, or it can open the other way. Okay. Now, what makes it open what way? And so we're going to discuss that. So we have chamber A and chamber B. Now, if the pressure in chamber B increases, okay, if we have increased pressure in A, you find that the valve is going to open this side, yes, so that whatever is in A can go into B. All right? But then you will notice that once that pressure starts going down, uh, once that pressure starts going down, what will happen is that the valves will actually close. Okay? They will flop back, so to speak. But then when pressure in B gets higher than pressure in A, then the valve opens this way so that what's in B can go in A. Once A equals B, there will be no flow. Okay? Um, so basically, this is the bidirectional principle. In the unidirectional, this is where we see the valve opening only one way. Okay? So in this case, what's going to happen is you could have the two chambers, okay, A and B. Now, let's say it can only open towards A, towards B rather. Let me label them. The valve can only open towards B. The principle is that if the pressure in A increases, to be like the bidirectional one, it will open this way, and content will move from A to B. But what happens when the pressure in B is more than the pressure in A? So in this case, what you're going to see is the valve, all right, let me just wrap it up a bit. The valve is going to go in this direction. But because it can't open this way, because anatomically can only open one way, yeah, you'll find that what it does, it is actually closing. All right, so once it's in this way, you find that this cannot go there, and that cannot go back because it's one direction, and the one direction is such that it can only go this way. So you find that for content A to get into content B, the pressure in A has to increase. So as long as the pressure in A is less than B, okay, so if the pressure in A is less than the pressure in B, there will be no flow. But once pressure in A is more than that in B, then you're going to have some flow happening. So this is very similar to what happens in in the heart. Okay, so having explained that, we just want to look at a few things that happen. So mechanically, we are saying that after the flow of an impulse, we're going to have a contraction that's going to happen. The contraction is now the one that's going to make it possible for pressure to build. Okay, so contraction will lead to pressure build, and these are the pressures that we're talking about. So to start with, we're going to just introduce and say the heart has the atria and the ventricle, and when electricity starts from the SA node to the atria, it goes through the heart in the pathway that we have already discussed in the previous videos. But once the action potential sweeps this area, you'll find that it is then followed up by contraction, and contraction of the chambers usually happen as the atria, they contract, okay, and then the ventricles contract. This leads to a buildup of pressure in either chambers, and the buildup in pressure is the one that causes the valves to open or close, and hence pump out blood or receive blood. So we're first going to note that the differences in pressure are noted in the various compartments initially when the heart is at rest. Okay, and then when the heart starts to contract, follow up the activity of impulses that have gone through them, then we see these pressure changes going on. So at rest, the atria is it has a higher pressure, okay, than the ventricle. So we find that it's about 8. So let's just get writing. You have about 8 millimeters of mercury. This is at rest, okay? And then in the ventricle, you have it about 0. So what is between the atria and the ventricle is a unidirectional valve that opens towards the ventricles. So it means that things will not go into the atria, but whatever content is in the atria will be offloaded into the ventricles. Okay, so having said that, the name of the valve between the two, does anybody know that? So I'll give you a few minutes as we're talking to just look at what that is. So we can say that the pressure in the outlet conduit okay, is higher than the receiving conduit. So, or the pressure in the giving conduit or the giving chamber is higher than that of the receiving. So because of this, if this was our A and this was our B, you'll find that this is actually open. Okay, so let's just go through what we said again. So the pressure in the atria is higher than that in the ventricle. So because of that, you will notice that what is in the atria can actually get into the ventricular chamber. Okay, so we're going to go through a cycle so that we just understand exactly what is going on point by point. So the first one that we're going to talk about is what happens in the first instance. Just going to take a break just now.